I would say on average about once or twice a week now, I get a viewer in YouTube, usually on my main channel, who wants to debate me and tries to do so in the comment stream, oftentimes getting quite upset and sometimes saying, things that they probably should think through. So I thought I would create a video in this Dr. Sadler Responds series that is focused specifically on why I think that debates are probably not the most fruitful use of my time and probably not your time. So if you're seeing this as a response, it's because you tried to debate me. And at a certain point, I said, well, here's my standard response. Now, I do have a few things to say about this. The first of which is probably going to strike people as being rather perhaps mercenary, and here I'm going to be very direct, very frank in what it is that I have to say, and I hope that people can appreciate that. Part of it is the fact that time is a limited commodity, and my time is indeed valuable. So if you want to debate me, I generally don't do it for free. And I'll say that one more time. I generally do not engage in debate for free. I do sometimes if there's a really good reason, but one person feeling that it's a really good reason, or even a few other people weighing in from their particular tribe, does not make that so from where I sit. So I will quite often say, I've given enough time to this, not going to do it. Now, that said, if you want to engage in debate with me, you can book a tutorial session like my other clients do, and you've got me for an hour, and I'll debate with you on whatever it is that you want. I'm probably not going to ultimately agree with you, but you'll probably learn something in the process, and who knows, maybe you'll decide you want to keep studying some other stuff. And the reason I have to do that is because I only get 24 hours a day, and it seems like with each new year I am busier and busier. I have so many people making demands on my time, many of which are paying me for that. And I have to do a good job with all of my clients, with the people who I consult with my students, with everybody else. And I do some pro bono work, right? In a very few cases with clients, where I think that it's really deserved, or sometimes with institutions. I give free talks at libraries. I give about 30 a year or so. But when for the most part, the stuff that I do, I actually have to be compensated for it because I do so much pro bono stuff. I put out on average now about 250 videos per year of new content. I respond to a lot of comments, and I devote, a good portion of each day. I would say I probably devote between shooting videos, planning videos, responding to comments, I probably devote anywhere the average day from 2 to 4 hours to that. And that's a lot of time. So, when you're thinking about why isn't Dr. Sadler willing to engage on this particular topic with me, a lot of it is a factor of time, and time well spent. I also have to have enough time to work out, to live a healthy life, to devote to my wife and my children and my pets and my family, spread out in other places, and my friends and my community. All of that is important. So all of that puts things into perspective, I think. Another thing that I'd like to say as well is that, I think that a lot of people have this expectation that if you're putting your content there on YouTube, somehow you've made some sort of contract with the viewer, and if they say something, you have to respond to them. That's total BS. If, to begin with, comments, I don't even have to leave them on my channel. If I wanted to delete every single comment that people put, which I'm never going to do, that would be perfectly within my rights as, and not only legal, but moral rights as a content producer. My channel is sort of like my front porch. And so if you're coming onto my front porch and Dr. Sadler this and blah, 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 you know, and wanting to argue with me, I'll kick you off my front porch because I don't want you there. You know, if you have bad things to say and start swearing at me, I'm not going to deal with you, right? I'll just, you know, block you and delete your comment because it's not worth it. I mean, if you feel that I owe to you to engage in debate when I'm providing high quality video content for free, and I have been for what, 6 years now, there's a kind of skewed perspective going on. And where does this perspective come from? I think that the biggest place, other than a sense of entitlement that a lot of people have, is this metaphor that we throw around. We talk about the marketplace of ideas, right? And it's sort of like, well, anybody who puts their idea out there has to defend it, has to be prepared to defend it to the teeth. No, they don't. That's not the way the world works. It's only a metaphor, and you know, we don't all have to defend everything all the time. As a matter of fact, it's often enough just to put the things out there, and we've already made a major contribution to whatever marketplace of ideas you want to talk about. And the other thing to keep in mind is, you know, if you view yourself as, you know, a skeptic or a critic or somebody who's doing yeoman's work in the marketplace of ideas, you better really know your stuff, right? Or else you're wasting everybody else's time. The marketplace of ideas works best when we have exchanges between people who really do understand the material and have legitimate differences that can then be brought to light. It's not about, you know, answering the same questions over and over and over and over again at the same basic level. Another thing to keep in mind, I think, that's quite important is, you know, I know that there's a lot of people who you know, shoot YouTube videos and they don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to philosophy. I know that because I see their videos. And occasionally, very, very, very occasionally, I'll comment and say, well, I think they've got so-and-so wrong, or I think this is not actually what Aristotle is saying. I'm not that way. If I put something out there, it's because I've put in some time and done some research. Some of the thinkers who I'm presenting on, I've been reading since my teens or 20s. And I've been studying in a serious way for years and years. I've been teaching philosophy for decades. I've made solid contributions to the field in terms of scholarship and in terms of popular work. You know, if I tell you that Nietzsche says X, or that you know, Hegel says X, or Kant says X, probably they actually do. There are legitimate differences in interpretation between scholars and experts, but you know, those are usually carried out in a sort of, well, sometimes not, but usually carried out in a civil and respectful way in which both parties or multiple parties acknowledge the expertise of the other person. So, you know, odds are, if you hear me saying something about Aristotle and you don't think it's right, and it doesn't quite jibe with what you read in this history of philosophy or remember from your, you know, your class that you took, or what your favorite professor said, probably I actually know what I'm talking about. And there are cases where I'm wrong, and I'll admit it. But that's not usually going to come up through YouTube comments. I do mispronounce things. I do, when I'm writing things on the board, misspell. That's life, right? But that's pretty small stuff, and that's not even worth debating about, right? So I'm a bad speller. The content is what matters. So, you know, the last thing that I'm going to say about debates, because, you know, before that, here's the other thing about time, right? If you're trying to get me, trying to show me that I've got something wrong, that's probably not a good use of your time, because you may in fact hit the bullseye that one time, but most of the time you're actually going to have been barking up the wrong tree. So the last thing that I'm going to say about debates is that when I was an undergraduate and even a graduate student, I really did enjoy the agonistic experience of getting in there and scrapping and all of that. And I spent a good portion of my life trying to get past that. I don't think that's a particularly useful model for doing philosophy well. I understand that in some schools they kind of teach that as the MO, right? And it does, appeal to certain kinds of people. But that's not how advances in philosophy, for the most part, take place. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about, Nietzsche or, Aristotle or Anselm or whoever. The temperament of the philosopher doesn't necessarily dictate the way in which we should go about talking about them or debating about them. So I tend to avoid debates. If somebody really wants to try to push it with me, my suggestion is book me for a tutorial session, and I'll be happy to do that with you. If it comes down to the need for my debating some other public figure on some topic, my question is going to be, can't somebody else do that? There's so many other people out there who love doing that sort of activity, and I would prefer to put stuff on the blackboard and get stuff done with the time that I have. But if need be, and I have to debate somebody, I suppose I will if it's for the public good. But if it's something that you just want because you think that this is a way to improve your understanding of Max Scheler or Jacques Lacan or whoever, again, book my time. Show me that it really is valuable to you, and I'll take you just as seriously as I do my many other clients who book my time because they think that it's worth doing. But if you don't want to do that, then don't be surprised if when I think you're trying to get me involved in a debate, I put this video, because frankly, it's this is a great time saver for me. So that's all I really have to say about this topic.